Hello, my name is Rachel. I am part of the Solar Switch team, and we are very excited to be offering you this Solar 101 webinar where you can learn all about the basics of solar. You will be hearing from our partner, the Midwest Renewable Energy Association, or the MREA for short. The MREA is a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting clean energy, energy efficiency, and sustainable living through education and demonstration. They're incredibly knowledgeable on solar, and we are happy to be working with them to offer Solar Switch. In this webinar, they will walk you through the basics of solar. The Solar Switch program offers residents a hassle-free way to install rooftop solar panels and battery storage. By coming together as a group, residents can secure a discounted price on a rooftop solar installation for their home or small business. If you choose to register for our program, you will receive a free personal recommendation without any obligation. Also, another series of webinars will become available to you. Those sessions will walk you through the Solar Switch personal recommendations, including a presentation from your winning installer. During those sessions, you will be able to ask questions directly to Solar Switch representatives, as well as directly to the installer. In addition to our webinars, you can access more information about solar panels and our program on our frequently asked questions section of our website. Without further ado, you will now hear from our partner, the MREA.
Hello, my name is Taylor Ball, Solar Program Manager with the MREA, and we have partnered with CUB, the Citizens Utility Board of Illinois, and iChooser on this campaign to educate people about solar energy in general and to connect those who want to go solar with a quality and vetted installer or installers across the Chicagoland area. Now is a great time to go solar with all the state and federal incentives available, and we're excited to help you learn more about it. In this presentation, we will give you an introduction to solar, discussing its benefits, the available incentives, and explain how the technology works. Additional webinars with installers will also be available through the Solar Switch program. Those webinars will give you an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper about the solar for your property. This program is led by two nonprofits, the MREA and CUB. The MREA is an educational member-based organization that promotes renewable energy through professional and accredited courses in solar PV or photovoltaics. Its annual and founding event, the Energy Fair, as well as other programming like our solar group buy programs like this one. The MREA has hosted over 60 group buy programs like this since 2013 across the Midwest. Now to introduce our friends at CUB, the Illinois General Assembly created Citizens Utility Board, or CUB. In 1983, through the CUB Act, CUB is a nonprofit, nonpartisan, and member-based organization with a mission to fight utility rate hikes, promote clean energy, and advocate for consumer protection in Illinois. Together, the MREA and CUB have hosted 3 solar group buys in Chicagoland, and Solar Switch Chicagoland will be our 4th. Now that we've got an introduction settled, let's go over our agenda. First, we will talk about the benefits of going solar. Then we'll go over the basics of how solar works. Next, we will explain the various ways you can go solar. Then we'll wrap it up by going over the specifics of the Solar Switch Chicagoland program. All right, so let's first talk about why right now is the best time to go solar. You may or may not have heard, but solar is booming right now. The technology itself isn't new. The first solar cells for commercial use came online around 1956. However, the technology and application of it has continued to improve and advance. It has become cost competitive with other sources of energy, and in some cases, it is even the cheapest option, and we expect to see that trend continue. There are now more than 140 gigawatts of solar energy capacity installed in the US, which is enough to power 25 million American homes. Additionally, solar accounted for 50% of all new electric generating capacity additions in 2022, more than any other energy source. sweeten that deal, solar can improve home values. Zillow found that on average, homes with solar sold 10 days faster and for 4.1% more than similar non-solar homes. Going solar can pay for itself. You will no longer rent your electricity, and you'll protect yourself from rate increases. Gaining your energy independence is not the only benefit of going solar, however. Reduced pollution is also a major benefit of solar. Widespread solar adoption could significantly reduce harmful emissions, all of which that cause air pollution and health problems. By going solar, you can reduce the demand for fossil fuels, limit greenhouse gas emissions, and shrink your carbon footprint. One home installing solar can have a measurable effect on the environment. All right, so now it's time for Solar 101. The common question we get is there even enough sunlight in Illinois to make solar viable? To answer that question, we're going to be referencing the solar irradiance map. Now, the areas in red are going to receive the most sunlight, whereas the areas in green receive less, and then purple, blues, they receive the least. Believe it or not, there are places who receive far less sun than the Chicagoland area who are successfully adopting solar in a large-scale way. You may have noticed that there is an inset map of Germany in the lower corner. Germany has the highest amount of solar capacity installed per capita in the world, with a goal to generate 80% of their power with solar and other renewable sources by 2030. If Germany can do it with as much sunlight as Seattle, Washington, then the land of Leasing can do it too. Now diving a little bit deeper of how it works. A solar or photovoltaic or PV cell is a semiconductor made of silicon. When a photon or a sun ray hits one of those cells, it knocks those electrons loose, creating a DC electricity that flows through your inverter, which then converts that energy from DC to AC, which is what our appliances use. That energy is used to either power loads inside your home or flow into the grid. Before it flows into the grid, however, it will hit your meter, which will track how much excess energy your system has delivered. It will also track how much energy you're pulling in when the sun is not shining. However, we're going to talk more about that later. Right now, I want to talk about an important component of your solar system, which is the inverter. It's a crucial part of your solar system because that's what converts that DC electricity into the appliance-friendly AC electricity. Here is an example screenshot of what monitoring could look like for your system. Please note that it does depend on the type of inverter that's recommended for your site. However, let's talk about the three main types of inverters. The first one is the string inverter. Now, this is the original type of inverters. These are typically the less expensive type and will work well if there's absolutely no shade. However, if there is shade, it will significantly reduce the output of the entire system. Installers might offer you this system with a string inverter if your roof is not shaded at any point of the day and does not face in multiple directions. Some popular brands of this type are SMA or Fronius, for example. So what happens if you have shade? Well, there's two more inverters that can help you out with that. First one is microinverters. Each individual panel is equipped with an inverter. This can be beneficial if you have panels or modules installed at different angles and orientations, or in areas that might sometimes be shaded. Additionally, microinverters allow for module level monitoring. You can see how much power each individual panel is making at a given time. The additional equipment can make systems with microinverters more expensive, and these systems can be more finicky since now you have multiple inverters and accessing them can be challenging if something fails. However, for many installations, these trade-offs may be worth it. Enphase is a popular brand for this one. Power optimizers are often considered a compromise between the two. They require one inverter and optimizers that power each individual panel. These also function well on roofs that may receive shading throughout the year. Like microinverters, power optimizers also allow for module level monitoring. Solar Edge is a well-known power optimizer product. Next, we're going to talk about the site for solar, your property, your location. The highest amount of solar exposure is from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., We like to call this the solar window. Because of where the US sits on the planet relative to the sun, south-facing exposure is ideal. However, east or west-facing exposure can work just as well. You just typically have to add more modules to make up the difference. Unshaded flat roofs will work as well too. Google Project Sunroof is a helpful tool to see how much sunlight your rooftop receives, similar to the ComEd tool. Google Project Sunroof can be helpful for identifying your solar window, but it isn't the best with cost estimates and generally doesn't take garages, sheds, and open yard space into account. We recommend getting a site assessment with your designated installer to see all the options available for you. Now we're going to talk about roof-mounted systems. This is the most common type of installation. Typically, it's attached via aluminum railing systems, and roof penetrations require adequate sealing, and installers assume responsibility for any roof damages, leaks, or mold. I would also like to highlight some more considerations when it comes to solar. We frequently get questions about snow. However, because solar modules are dark and because they conduct electricity, which heats them up a bit, snow usually will slide off the next time it's sunny out. Sometimes the snow can build up and fall in a clump, so just be mindful of what's below the array. For example, main walkways, furniture, example. Hail is another question we get frequently. However, the industry standard is that solar modules are rated to withstand at least 1-inch hail at 50 miles per hour. This is because the silicon is brittle and fragile, so the glass covering the solar needs to be very strong. Sometimes we get questions about wind loading. You may be able to see from the image, but there is only about a 3-inch air gap between the solar array and the roof, which is not enough space to create a wind sail. A major consideration we want to bring up is if you anticipate re-roofing. If you do within the next 5 to 8 years, we suggest re-roofing before you add solar. This is to avoid the expense of having a solar installer remove the solar panels for when you re-roof. This is a good conversation to have with your solar installer. Sometimes rodents can be an issue, and if you have a squirrel problem now, you will probably have a squirrel problem when you have solar. However, there are things like Critter Guard, for example, that can protect your wires and system. Again, something to talk about with your installer if that is a concern. To the dismay of many doomsday preppers out there, the grid-tied solar systems do go down when the power goes down. This is done to prevent any injury to utility line workers that may be performing repairs. You would, however, be able to power a few loads if you install a battery system with your solar system. A lot of people want to go off-grid, but they find out that the price of storage, which is about $9,000, $12,000 or more, many feel that it's not as necessary to justify those few hours when the grid does go down. However, despite their cost, battery storage systems are an incredibly and increasingly popular option for backup power. If you are interested in batteries, we highly recommend that you have that conversation with your solar installer so then they can properly configure your system so you can add batteries. Furthermore, batteries will be an additional add-on included in the Solar Switch personal recommendation. For the majority of consumers, we like to recommend grid-tied systems because they are just considerably less expensive and also allow for net metering, which we are going to talk about that shortly. Let's look at a basic solar system and define some terms. The average size of a solar array in Illinois is about 6.5 kilowatts. So again, terminology, let's distinguish between what is a kilowatt and a kilowatt hour. A kilowatt, which is 1,000 watts, is a basic measurement that describes the amount of energy available at a given instant. For example, a 5 kilowatt solar array would be producing 5 kilowatts of electricity at any given moment when at full power. A kilowatt hour is power used over time and is what we use to measure electricity consumption. 1 kilowatt hour is like using 1,000 watts in 1 hour. Fun fact, a hairdryer uses about 1,000 watts. So if you turned on a hairdryer, left it on for an hour, that's 1 kilowatt hour of electrical use. The average American home uses about 1,000 kilowatt hours per month. Additionally, kilowatt hours are what show up on your energy bills, so it's important to know the difference. Net metering means that any excess electricity produced by your solar system is exported to the utility grid and subtracted from the amount of electricity that you import from the grid, reducing your overall electricity costs. To put it differently, net metering is when a solar system produces more energy than is being immediately consumed, and you are able to credit that excess energy back to the utility company. They apply that credit to electricity you use at night or on cloudy days. This renewable energy credit helps to greatly reduce your bill to as low as $15. ComEd credits you the same rate you're buying electricity from them. Credits roll over month to month with a true up in April. So looking at this graph now, it shows how you would use and produce your energy over a course of a day. If you're producing more than what you're using, you'll get a credit every month with your bill. Generally, you will want the total area of the yellow curve when your solar array is producing energy to be equal to the total area of the blue curve, which is how much electricity you're using. Net metering applies when the yellow area is greater than the blue area. If you're a net producer, more yellow than blue, you'll get a credit on your bill the next month or during the true up in April. Even if you are a net consumer, your electric bill will still be lower because you're not being charged for the solar energy you do use and produce. This chart shows annual energy usage versus projected solar usage for 1 year for an average home. Some months, your solar array will generate more energy than you use, and other months, you'll be using the grid plus your solar array for energy consumption. Yellow is anticipated solar for our area, while blue is typical energy use for 1 year. Net metering can work to save you money over the course of a year, as your credit for excess production rolls over to future months. In this example, the home's solar array produced 73 of its yearly energy consumption in household. This is a back of the ComEd bill. It may look familiar, but there are some solar-specific differences. At the top, under meter information, there will now be 2 readings, one for kilowatt hour sent to the grid and one for kilowatt hour that you used from the grid. In this example, the customer used 420 kilowatt hours from the grid and exported 600 kilowatt hours to the grid. The customer has rollover credits this month, and those rollover credits will show up under miscellaneous. Then the credits that are applied to this month's bill show up under all 3 sections: supply, delivery, taxes, and fees. Even though this is a month where the customer exported more solar energy to the grid than they used, their bill is still $15 under a fixed rate plan. That's because net metering credits do not offset the $10 customer charge or the $5 standard metering charge. 15 is about as low as your ComEd bill will go after you have solar. ComEd also offers an hourly pricing program, which could lower your bill even further. To learn more about hourly pricing, you can visit the frequently asked questions page on solarswitch.com/Chicagoland or go to hourlypricing.comed.com. Additionally, if you are outside of the ComEd territory, your net metering policy may look differently, and we suggest connecting with your solar installer to find out how that net metering policy works for you. We can't talk about solar without talking about energy efficiency. Remember, the cheapest kilowatt hour is the one you don't use in the first place. It's catchy, but it's also true. Understanding your personal energy use is an important step towards energy independence. Making energy efficiency and conservation choices in your home, including replacing old appliances with new energy efficient models, switching out old incandescent bulbs with LED lights, utilizing power strips to power off electronics when not in use, and weatherproofing can save significant amount of energy. For every dollar you invest in energy efficiency improvements, you can get $3 back in energy savings, while also reducing the necessary size and therefore cost of the solar system that you would need if you do decide to go solar. If you do plan on making energy efficiency improvements at any time in the future, please tell your solar installer so then they can take that into account when sizing and pricing a proposal for you. The Inflation Reduction Act created various tax credits and rebates that can be used for energy efficiency investments. Learn more about these on our website and on CUB's website, citizensutilityboard.org, to view their guide on the IRA. All right, so that was a lot. To summarize what we've been talking about, there are several considerations to make before going solar. For example, does your roof have good solar exposure? Which direction is my roof facing? North, south, east, west? Remember, south is the best, but you can still make it work with east and west. Do you anticipate re-roofing? Is your home energy efficient? And what adders might be needed for your project? Note for that last bullet, there are certain factors that may require you to purchase additional equipment or require more labor that goes beyond what was quoted in your initial site assessment. These considerations are often called adders in the industry, but that doesn't mean that they are fancy extras. They are often necessary to getting the panels safely and properly installed on your property. These might include critter guards to protect your panels from rodents, electrical upgrades to support the new system, additional racking material to accommodate a unique roof setup, or if you have a 3-story home versus a single-story home. These adders can vary, and you can talk to your installer to understand what adders may affect you. Now we're going to talk about the incentives available for going solar. We're going to go through these one by one. However, the current incentives can cover up 70% of the cost of going solar if you purchase the system. The first incentive is from the state of Illinois, and it's called SRECs. SREC stands for Solar Renewable Energy Credit and can cover 30 to 40% of the cost going solar. The second incentive is a federal tax credit, and that is equal to 30% of the cost going solar. You should be able to take advantage of these two incentives within the first year of going solar. Then mix in the utility net metering credits, and it will help you pay back your system faster. Another benefit that we have in Illinois is that homeowners associations cannot outright block you from going solar or fine you from going solar. You can find out more about that law in the Solar 101 section of our website. So let's dive deeper. The first credit, SRECs, are from the state of Illinois through a program called Illinois Shines. Illinois has a goal to hit 50% renewable energy by 2040. If you go solar on your property, they want to be able to count your solar production towards their overall goal. However, they can't legally claim that generation towards their goal unless they pay you for it. The way that this credit works is that your solar installer will figure out how much renewable energy your system is expected to produce over the next 15 years. Once they have that number, that will be multiplied by a dollar amount per unit of solar energy to determine how much you will receive. Your approved vendor will apply for the SREC incentive on your behalf. Typically, the approved vendor is a third party that your installer works with. However, sometimes installers process the applications in-house. The approved vendor will often take a cut of the incentive as a processing fee, which is usually about 10%. You will typically receive this incentive as a check from your solar installer 6 to 12 months after your system is installed and connected to the grid. Please note that this sometimes can take longer due to the high demand for these credits, but your installer can typically give you a better understanding of the timeline once the application is submitted. One final thing to note is that SRECs are considered a taxable income. Now we're going to talk about the federal tax credit. This credit is equal to 30% of the total project cost. This does not include a new roof unless your home is one of the few situations that requires structural reinforcement to support the solar system. Additionally, the home must be owned by the taxpayer, but it does not have to serve as the principal residence. This is a non-refundable credit, but it will reduce what you owe on your income taxes. If the value of the credit is greater than what you owe in income taxes that year, the excess amount can roll over to the next year. We recommend talking with your tax advisor to see how the tax credit can benefit you. So let's put it all together. This chart on the screen displays the cost of a solar system before and after the incentives are applied. A 6.5 kilowatt system at $3.20 a watt will come out to around a little over $20K. Remember that the average size and cost of a system here in Illinois is 6.5. Please note that your payback period will depend on the cost of your system and the amount of power it generates. And this is just an example. Now we're going to discuss your different options for going solar. If you want to install solar on your own home, there are 3 options. The first option is to just purchase them outright. This is what we've been talking about, where you get to directly take advantage of the state and federal incentives. There are a lot of financing options available to help purchase your system. The second option is to lease your system. With a solar lease, you don't own the system, the solar company owns it. Because they own it, they get to take advantage of both the incentives. They use those incentives to lower your monthly payment, but there is no requirement that they pass on a certain portion of those savings to you. Although there is often no money owed upfront, you will often end up paying significantly more over the lifetime of a lease than you would by purchasing a system and taking advantage of those incentives directly. Sometimes even twice as much. Still, for residents focused on clean energy and who may not be able to purchase a system outright, leasing is a nice option. The third option is a power purchase agreement, or a PPA. This is similar to a lease. The company owns the system, but instead of paying a monthly payment, you pay a rate per kilowatt hour for the energy produced by the system. Some things to look out for with leases and PPAs is that many leases and PPAs include cost escalators. That's a line in the contract saying that your monthly payment will increase annually, usually by 2 or 3%. That may seem low, but because these are long-term contracts, by the end of the contract, you could be paying 50% more than what you did in the first year. Check the contract to see what happens if you move. A lot of these contracts have really unfavorable things for homeowners if you need to sell your house before the lease term is up. Even if you don't plan to sell your house, it's still good to understand what would happen in case things change. The CUB and MREA recommend never signing a lease or PPA without first exploring your ownership options. Most people will pay significantly less purchasing than leasing. The next program I want to talk about is Community Solar. Community Solar is a program available in Illinois for people who can't go solar on their own property for whatever reason. It's a great program for renters or people with shaded roofs. All current offers guarantee savings, really. When you sign up with a community solar company, they will look at your usage to determine your subscription size. You can think of that as how many panels you are subscribed to of a large solar garden. Each month, your subscription will generate solar energy, and you'll be credited for that on your ComEd bill. You will now pay 2 bills, your existing electricity bill, which will be reduced by your solar community credits, and your monthly community solar bill. Even though you are paying 2 bills, you will still be saving money overall. That's because these projects are so highly incentivized by the state that community solar companies are able to sell that energy to you at a lower rate than ComEd. To learn more, you can visit www.solarinthecommunity.com. The final state program we want to talk about is Solar for All. Solar for All in Illinois is a low-income solar program. It includes incentives for community solar, residential solar, and solar for nonprofits and public facilities. If you qualify for it, Solar for All is going to be the most affordable way for you to go solar. Solar for All is actually structured as a lease in most cases, but the companies that offer it are required to offer no money down and 50% savings on the energy generated by the solar system. This is the only case where a lease is your best bet, but that's because it's part of this state-funded program. To qualify for this program, you must be at or below 80% of area median income. That varies by location and household size. In Chicago area, the household income cutoff for a family of 4 is $83,350. Visit IllinoisSFA.com to learn more. Okay, so we're on to next steps. We've covered how solar energy works, the benefits, the site considerations, and different ownership options. So what are the next steps? If you are interested in moving forward in your solar journey, we suggest that you fill out the form on our program website and be ready to answer questions about your home and electricity usage. Don't worry if you don't have all the information they're asking for. However, the more information you have, the better site recommendation it can make for you. And be sure to tell your friends to watch the Solar Power Hour. Now I'd like to turn things back over to our partners with Solar Switch Chicagoland to close things off.
Okay, this brings us close to the end of our webinar. Just a few final comments. The goal of this webinar was to help you to better understand solar. To learn more about our program specifically, you can visit our website. There you will find additional information, videos, and there will be more detailed webinars available at certain moments throughout our program. A survey about this webinar will pop up on your screen. If you have a moment, we would greatly appreciate your feedback so that we can continue to improve our information sessions. That is everything. Thank you for attending. We hope you found this useful. If you have any questions, please contact our help desk at hello@solarswitch.com. Thank you. Bye.